Today I'm going to make this video to demonstrate how to use Raspberry Pi and control relay switches using Python, and later I'll be exposing the same thing using C# as an API, .NET using .NET Core, and control the lights, 120 volt lights. These relays actually, these relays actually can handle, as you can see, this one can handle up to 250 volt. That one thing I wanted to make sure that when we are working with 120 volt, unless you are really know what you're doing, please, for the safety purpose, do not play with live wires or 120 volt. This is dangerous, and since I have electronics background and I have done quite a lot of electrical work just for experimental purpose, I know what I'm doing. So as you can see, when the box will be ready, I'll be testing with multiple meters, and I have the tool set to make sure this 120 volt is properly handled. They're dangerous, so I will never recommend, unless you know what you're doing, please do not try this. But up to this part, whereas all this pin is concerned, these pins are all handled using Raspberry Pi. As you can see, this one, they are up to 5 volts, so they are not dangerous. You can work up to this, but when it comes to the actual electrical part, so please make sure that you engage some certified electrician to handle this one. All the electrical work, I'm going to make sure that they are as per the code, and I'll be using these of the devices, and also I'll be using this tool to cut the plastic box. As you can see, finally the box is now ready. So it went through one iteration. The first box actually got little bit destroyed. As you can see, this was a mess. You can see that when I was using that, the actual spacing was not right, so it turned out not good. So I end up trashing this, went outside, get another box, and now I have this one. I also put this switch. This switch is you can also like turn it on and off. This has the, I think, SPST technology that actually put some lights on this when it is on and off. So I'm now going to connect this one. So in order to start the whole thing, you first have to go to. So in order to start the whole thing, you first have to go to the software Raspberry Pi OS and download
You go there,
the software that is needed, which is under the software. You go there, you will see that Raspberry Pi OS software. You download this, and once you download and install it, you will get this Raspberry Pi imager. So you have to run this.
You first have to choose the device that you are.
Once it is running, you first have to choose the device that you are
on the
going
board,
to
right now you can see this
use
one.
it for.
This has Raspberry Pi 5, so I'll use that. And make sure that you use the other Raspberry Pi selection, and there you have this light 64, which is we don't need the interface because we'll be remotely connecting and installing. So we click this, and this is one of the important steps. If you so I have to select the where I'll be installing it, and let's click the next. Let's click next, and this particular step is very important. If you are using the, let's say, the name, and you have to specify the LAN. This step is very important because when you will be setting up remotely to access this particular Raspberry Pi, you have to make sure that you have the proper information. And and also go to the service tab, and enable the SSH, because this will help us access this particular device or the Raspberry Pi remotely using SSH command. I'll show you how we are going to do that. And rest we can leave as is, and let's make sure that currently I'm using the same password, but later I'm going to change it. So let's save it and say yes. It is going to lose the data. Yes, of course. And this particular step is going to take a while.
Alright, after some time, as you can see that it is done, I can now remove it. So let's continue, and I remove this from this piece and insert this chip in the, again, make sure that this is there's no power, because this entire thing can be dangerous, so always make sure. All right, so let me put this here. Now I'm going to power it up. So I did power it up, and you can see, I'm not sure it is visible, but there is a light that just came here, red light. Okay, everything is off. So now let's power it on, and you can see that there's a power there. This whole thing and all the lights are here. So now let's okay, it's booted up. Okay, so now if I ping this Raspberry Pi 1.local, I should be able to ping that Raspberry. Okay, now let's do SSH command, and I'll be connect using the user at Raspberry Pi 1.local and say yes. I'm going to use the password, and as you see, I am right now inside the Raspberry Pi. Okay, so I can now use Visual Studio Code to connect, because that's my preferred tool for remoting to Raspberry Pi. So I'm going to add the so SSH example SSH cr at Raspberry Pi 1.local. Okay, and that's fine, that's what I'll be using. Okay, so it's added, that is perfect. Now I'm going to open this here. Now as you can see here, it is started setting up the Raspberry Pi local. So I'm going to say it is Linux, and it is asking the password, so I put the password. Okay, now it is setting up the SSH host Raspberry Pi, is downloading the Visual Studio Code server onto the Pi. So once it is done, then it is going to connect to the Pi using this remote SSH command. It's almost done, as you can see. All right, now I can open the folder. As you can see, this is inside the Pi. So okay, most likely it's going to ask a few more questions and enter the password. Yes, I'm going to trust, and you can see it is open there. So now I can do a terminal to that Pi. Now I'm in. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to create let's see, a folder called just to test that this connectivity to this is working, or the setup is working. So I'll be using a Python code. So let's do one thing. I'm going to create let's say a folder called dir called let's say temp code, and cd temp. Okay, I'm inside the temp folder, and I'm going to use a code to create, let's say, test.python code. And now for this Python code is asking to install the Python extension from this one. Say it's not needed right now. I have the code base, so let me get the code out of this. So this particular code is needs. So this is the code that I'll be using, which is using a library. So obviously it's not going to run. If I say save, let's say save. Now if I say ls, you can see that. And so if I say Python to run this test.py code, okay, it's actually running. As you can see that it's actually running. Wow. Let's see the order. Yeah, this is perfectly fine. So it's actually working. So this code, this particular code, using Python, I'm controlling this just to test whether my setup is correct. the pin is configured in the order, and you can see that it is 1 to 5. It's kind of like turning it on and off. I can okay, so this is a code that actually runs. I can say Control C to stop it, and again it is back. So let's run this to make sure that I test the connectivity, the power. You see, when it is turning off, it is properly connected. You can see that the light is, see. All right, so I think this connection looks good. When I say all of these connections are properly done, means that make sure that the hot wire in electrical connection is going through the relay, and when it is turning it off, no other light is glowing. And also you can see the ground connection. If it is ground have some issue, it is going to glow this red light, but it is not. So obviously it looks like it is perfectly fine. I'm now going to install .NET. So install .NET, I'm going to follow the steps that Microsoft recommended. Let's go to Microsoft, and you can see this, but as you can see, Microsoft has given self-contained app installation steps. So in order to do this, so in this command prompt, so I'm going to run this. Okay, and next is it says change the mode of that. Okay, done. And then install the latest version of .NET. Okay, this is going to take a while, so let it install. Okay, so the .NET installation is done. So you can see that it installed the latest .NET. Now if I want to verify .NET version, should be okay. So I have to set up the path. Okay, it'll show you that it is actually installed the latest path. Since now this Raspberry Pi has the .NET installed from .NET, so let's start Visual Studio. And I already built one application. I'm going to explain that. So this is a control panel. It's a basic application that is, if you see this in the program files, it has a singleton GPIO service, which is nothing but a service that I written here, which is pretty much using the same relay pin that we did for the Python app. You can see that pins are same configured, and these pins are going to be powered based on a function that I'm going to call. So this is called relay status, and toggle the relay based on the relay number. You specify which relay you want to do. It has 1 to 8. So if you want to turn on 1, pass 1 and say on. If it is you want to do start, so we'll test this. And now I'm going to use this service from a controller, which is going to start, as you can see, that it is an API controller. It can be called from remotely using the Postman or your application. So let's first deploy this application. So I'm going to run this one, say publish. Let's create a profile in the folder. Let's find, and I'm going to finish this one. Let's publish it. So this is everything is happening on this laptop. I have to now copy this published folder to Raspberry Pi. So let's copy the folder path and go to the command here. Okay, let's exit from here. I'm going to cd to that folder. Okay, so you can see these are the files that are there on that location, published location, and I'm going to use a cp command to copy these things from here. So I do have, okay, let's create a folder called cp. So let's say cd dot, no, not here, so cd dot, and inside this I'm going to create a mkdir, let's say cp. Okay, so now if I see ls, you can see cp is another folder, and I'm going to copy these files from here to that cp folder. I'm going to use this command to copy. This one is going to be spinny1.local. Okay, is asking the password, so I entered, and you can see that all the files are now copied to this folder. And if I go to the console or the terminal, if I go to cp, you can see these are the files that are just copied. Now once these files are copied, I can start .net, okay, and control panel, let's say .dll. It's actually started. So I'm going to start another window for this, new window, and here I'll use the Postman. So where is the Postman? Let's start the Postman. So I already set up the Postman for the control panel. I can use this Postman and try to toggle. So you can see that it actually worked. It is getting returned, but in the body, if I say turn it on as a true, then you can see that is now. So if I now test this with this, you can see that there is a light, okay, but if I want to turn it off, so now I have this, and you can see it is now off. Okay, so what the next thing that I can show that is basically a pattern that, so since you have a pattern, ways to also, there is a pattern, you can specify a pattern. I can also test the whole thing using a pattern. Say this is, let's say, okay, and you can see right now the lights are like, see, 1010, it is on and on, off. I can turn all of them off or on. So now I can use this in a let's do another program. So you can do various ways. Now you can call the API. I can show another demo that can open using a console application. I can call the API randomly. So let's test the relay pattern. Okay, I already have this code tested. It's a very console application, and you can see different patterns, and I tested before, so it is 1 now, and this is going to call the API different ways. Okay, so let's run this one. Okay, all it's going to do is call with different patterns. It is going to call as you can see now, the lights are dancing, so using the API. So that means now let's close this application. Okay, so it actually works. Okay, so I showed you how we can now use this relay box From Python, you can also use the .NET. Using C# is expose an API. The relay is now fully functional, and I'm going to box it. So now this box is fully ready to go. So this is the box, as you see inside. Everything is properly labeled and all these things are there. And I'm going to box it, and I put some holes here so that I can zip tie once it is installed in a location. That's pretty much it. Thank you.